All right. What's going on, everybody?
Evening, Dave. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Wasn't sure, coming on with a chat on Sunday evening of Easter. I didn't know, certainly not many people hopping in. Kind of expected, but it was the episode, I could certainly do on my own, but, get some thoughts of kind of expectations or, does something change after spring for you? I think probably too much shouldn't change, from what we thought just 4 or 5 weeks ago. How much can we always ask ourselves the question, how much can we take away from a spring game or all the spring intel we get through spring practice? But certainly I think there was some excitement heading in anyway, and then we get the Lagway news, so that changes things a little bit, but not sure it changes the outlook for the team in 2025 and the 2025 season, of course. So certainly I threw a tweet, and I'll show it here in just a bit. But I did ask the question last week to Gator Nation on Twitter. After spring practice, do you feel more encouraged or less encouraged? And I know the Lagway part of this can make that question a little weird, but for the most part, we got the news from Billy Napier right after the spring game, and he kind of doubled down on it this past week as well, saying Lagway, he'll be, a couple of weeks, he'll be throwing, and then in June when the OTA starts, he'll be full go. So I don't think that's going to change many people's opinions. I'll get into some comments that I had on Twitter as well, and some of them do deal with the Lagway situation, but did want to get a feel. And out of 800 votes, I did get some answers for, more encouraged or less encouraged. So certainly Gator Nation, a little small sample size, of course, but certainly can generate some conversation, based on that. So wanted to get some thoughts. Like I said, it being Easter, of course, wasn't sure. Ryan, thanks, man. You're always in here, and I could count on you to have the chat going with me. But like I said, I know it's Easter, and I know a lot of people busy today, but certainly glad that, can get another viewpoint in here. And that's what the Gators Breakdown Plus is for.
Yeah, we got done with all our stuff a few hours ago.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just relaxing. So yeah. I wouldn't say my expectations have changed any. I mean, they are. I mean, they are still. They should be. High. I mean, we're in year 4. We have our quarterback. I mean, we should be making a championship run, and that's just where I think we should be. I'm not sure that's where we're at, but that's where I feel like we should be in year 4 under Napier with DJ Lagway and all the returning production. I mean, I think this is the year.
Yeah, there's probably a couple ways to go with that. First of all, what was your starting expectation to begin with? Of course, and I think a lot of people's, for this year's Florida team are the expectations are high, and they should be. Look, and you brought it up, and I've said it many a times. You just said it's Napier year 4, and he's got his quarterback in Lagway, but and I stand by this statement. It's not just a Napier thing to me. Any coach going into his 4th year at the University of Florida should have these expectations.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. DJ Lagway, regardless. I mean, this is year 4. I mean, you're right. I mean, the expectations should be competing for SEC championships or national championships by now, regardless of your coaches. I mean, so we've proven it's been done in the past, and then we can just look no further than Todd Golden and the basketball team. It doesn't take long if you're the right guy and know how to build a roster.
Oh, Ryan, that goes into it. That is one way I wanted to go into it. So everybody knows Gator Jen, of course, here in Gators Breakdown Plus. She slowed down a bit. Doesn't in here as much as she used to be. But she replied to the question. So I'm going to post it. I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put this up for everybody as well, this episode here, this chat. But I threw the question up, and let's get to the results, and then I'll get into that part that you just brought up, Ryan, about the roster construction and timeline. So I threw it out last week. I know the Lagway being limited situation makes this question a little weird, but after spring practice for the Gators, do you feel and I had the option of more encouraged, less encouraged. I didn't want to take the easy way out and say feel the same, because I think a lot of people's, like I said, expectations probably didn't change, or if they're more encouraged or less encouraged, probably didn't really change all that much. But out of those two choices, as I said, about 800 votes there, 81.6 say they are more encouraged after spring practice, and 18.4 say less encouraged. And Ryan, to go to your point there, and I want to go to what Jen had to say. She said, I feel positive about the season, but it's more based on off-the-field activities than what we saw in spring camp. The retention of key players, and importantly, key depth players, in a time when the transfer portal is so tempting, shows the players believe in the direction of the program and they are optimistic about its success. Many players turned down more money elsewhere for the opportunity to stay in Gainesville. Speaks volumes. So Ryan, you were in here when Jen was pretty active, on the Florida Victorious, the Gator Collective side of things. And, I think we all, early on in the Napier tenure, we asked ourselves the question, we do like the way he's building it. We do like the foundation, but can that pathway work in today's college football? We knew everything was changing so very fast with NIL, with transfer portal, and Billy Napier stuck to his guns and decided, it wasn't going to be this massive roster overhaul to begin with. He was going to build the recruiting, and that was going to be, I do think that's still more of the proven successful route, even in today's college football. I never blamed Billy Napier for wanting to build that way, but it was going to, eventually have to show progression. And year 1 and year 2 were bumpy, and the start of year 3 was bumpy. And even Billy Napier himself had said, we questioned a little bit if that route was going to work. And look, that's not to excuse the record in the first couple of years as well, because we all know there were some coaching mistakes as well, in year 1 and year 2. Could they have been a few more wins in year 1 and year 2? Absolutely, there could have been. And, when the roster was going through the construction and the reconstruction, and not so heavy on the emphasis on the transfer portal, you were going to play some young guys, and those young guys needed to show up. And we saw that. We saw flashes, players like Trevor Etienne, Jordan Castell, the true freshmen making appearances in their respective years. And but you wondered, was it going to be the right path? You saw schools going the other way. You saw schools going the other route. You saw schools being able to have immediate, instant results and make a college football playoff appearance, or, a national championship appearance. And, here's Florida over here kind of just floundering in year 1 and year 2 of Napier and the start of year 3. And, we were, I think it was right to ask, is that the way to build in today's college football? I do think it's more sustainable, but with all the ever changing, were we ever going to be able to see that under Billy Napier? So, to Jen's point, I do like, them being able to retain some players when maybe there are some NIL dollars out there waiting on them, but they really feel good about the direction of this. And we saw the early bumps, a guy like Trevor Etienne leaving, that if you're going to build the recruiting, you needed those type of guys to stay around. Now, he was very little missed because of the position he plays. Then you had guys like Princely as well go and transfer in conference. These were guys that were going to be young when Billy Napier got here and were going to be, cornerstones. But lo and behold, in year 3, it didn't really matter when those guys left. But, if recruiting and developing was going to be your calling card, we're eventually going to have to see the results. And year 3 finally bared those results, and I think that's why the expectation for year 4 is where it is right now for Billy Napier, and kind of going to get Jen's situation, or what she pointed out. There are some really good young players that Florida's going to be relying on, should be relying on, and some key pieces in key positions. And I do think when you take her tweet and combine it with what we've just been chronicling since Billy Napier has started, you can start to see the way in his vision starting to come around.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is just from everything I've read and what I see, which isn't much, just on DJ Lagway, the person. He kind of, he has a Tebow vibe, as in, and not the same skill set, and maybe not the faith base, because I don't really know how devout Lagway is, but
Pretty high.
More of like on the field, off the field. Yeah. But I mean, so there's just another thing, but he can, people want to play with him. I mean, he's a leader. You can tell he has that leadership ability, that quality that to keep the guys want to play for DJ Lagway. I mean, I do feel like he is one of those type players that you need on your team. And Tebow is the best example I can give you. Danny Warfel, but Tebow probably more so because he was such a like the centerpiece of that team. Whereas DJ Lagway is going to be the centerpiece of this team. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's good on Napier. I mean, I give Napier crap just as much as, if not more than most fans in your Discord, just because I'm one of those, you know, I've seen it happen in 2 years. You can turn a roster around, turn a team around, and be competing for national championships. We've seen it with Spurrier, or maybe not national, but at least SEC titles. Spurrier did it in 2 years. Meyer did it in 2 years. I mean, it's doable. So I was not as lenient with Napier, especially after the way we started year 3. So yeah, I'm glad to see that we're finally, you know, getting the development. We're finally getting the roster construction. And I'm with you. I still believe the best way to build a team is through high school recruiting and use the transfer, you know, only as needed. And you don't have to look any further than the school out west to see that it didn't work out the other way around. So,
man, and we are seeing that firsthand right now too. it is ugly in Tallahassee right now.
They are in trouble.
Yeah,
they are in trouble.
I mean, just not to rub salt in the wound, but they are a rival. So if it does hurt them, fine, I'm fine with it. But man, just go read their message board right now. Those guys are in the dumps. I mean,
good.
Yeah, their fan base is not feeling it right now. You see transfer, especially the wide receiver position, going away, and you know, look, maybe it does work out, but I see some of them. You know, most of it's downtrodden. Most of them don't see light at the end of the tunnel. But you know, specifically for that wide receiver position and a lot of the transfers that they've lost, and I see the conversation of they're going through the depth chart that they currently have, and you know, they're talking themselves up about the guys they do have. And look, that's part of being a fan. I get it, you know, but it's hard to see that school bouncing back. And, you know, we were talking about it on the Gators Breakdown Plus. I was we were talking about FSU a little bit yesterday, and kind of, Ryan, going to your point, they just were not able to capitalize. I mean, and that's the hard part of, if you're a Seminole fan, Florida and Miami were both down while you were having really, really good seasons. You were having really good 2022 and 2023, and both those programs with Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal were not looking like they were trending in the right way. And FSU was not able to take advantage. You know, they had a lot of wins, and they had, you know, Mike Norvell coming in with transfer portal and past staff players and being able to do some things. But then we all saw the high school recruiting was nowhere near where it needed to be for a team that was winning that much in the state of Florida. They didn't capitalize in high school recruiting. They had to go portal hunting one more time because of that, and it didn't work out again. And they had to do it again because they were so bad last year. They really had no other choice because high school recruiting has been so bad. So they've put themselves in a much worse situation than Florida, than Miami, because I don't know enough, Ryan, from outside if it was a given strategy or if it was a chosen strategy by them to not go so hard in high school recruiting. Do they have trouble recruiting? Do they have trouble connecting to the high school recruits? Or was their path always to go hit the transfer portal so hard? And maybe they were jaded by the early success that they had through the transfer portal. I can see that being the case. But whatever the reason, you would think, just, you know, when you start winning in this state, that you should be able to take advantage of your top 2 in-state rivals being down. You're winning a lot of games, and it didn't work out. And I don't see a way out of it for them unless they get rid of Mike Norvell.
Yeah, I mean, that's beyond me. I mean, if their strategy was just go all in on the transfer portal every year, well, then that was a dumb strategy, because I mean, that you just can't keep a team. I mean, not even the NFL builds teams like that. And, I mean, regardless of how good the players are, there is still a thing about team chemistry and the locker room. I mean, and when you're just out there hiring snipers, and guns for hire year in, year out, then it's just, I mean, I don't, that just doesn't seem like, it's just mismanagement of funds. And I don't see how anybody, I mean, and I don't care if you're Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, even Nick Saban wouldn't be able to, hold a roster together like that every year. I mean, yeah, I mean, they made the playoffs one year, and then the year before that had a really good, and they had two good years,
Yeah.
like you said, where we were down, and I don't know. Like I can't explain it, because FSU is traditionally, ever since Bobby Bowden and even after, they've always been, if you got a good coach in the state of Florida at one of these three schools, you're probably going to recruit pretty good. You should at least be top 10. So I don't understand. I mean, I just think Mike Norvell's probably just that bad. Maybe he's just a terrible recruiter.
Yeah, I think my opinion about that is, and I joined halfway through that talk, so, but my opinion about that is that when he came in, FSU was so bad after those Taggart years, and I think if I remember right, they tried to recruit that first year, but COVID kind of screwed them up.
Yeah,
and they were just so down on talent, they went all in on the transfer portal out of necessity, and then they hit it big that one year. Yeah, they hit it big. So then I don't know if they tried to just recreate it, and their lack of coaching ability has caught up to them, and now they have so much bad film, and it's kind of everybody else thinks that they don't know how to coach too, so that feeds into the high school recruiting aspect of it. On top of them not having a pile of money to go after people either,
Yeah,
they went.
Go ahead, Josh.
They went total opposite of Florida.
Yeah,
Florida, Napier he bet on himself and made sure he lasted 4 seasons and didn't really go through the portal for much of anybody outside of little gap guys, but built all through high school. And I guess we're going to see how that pays off now. I mean, they've built a decent little roster through the portal.
Yeah,
and or through the recruiting, and then added to it in the portal. So.
Yeah, I think with this is, look, and we know there probably should have been and could have been more portal additions. We know there were some misses out there for Florida, and so some spending probably have something to do with that. But it is a delicate balance. I mean, it really is. We know you have to hit the transfer portal in today's age in college football. You just have to, because you're going to lose some guys to the portal, so you're going to have to backfill through the portal. And honestly, I think. For most of us, and I remember, Gators Breakdown Plus is, we kind of started this Discord with NIL and NIL and transfer portal coming along together. So we've had a lot of these conversations together, and we've kind of. I don't think none of us really wanted a complete flip of the roster, but we knew there could have been maybe some more regression toward the beginning of it to get maybe some more early wins. I think what worried me the most was having those first couple of years where you didn't win, and then that kind of, and we saw it a little bit where it was going to be hard to recruit after that. And look, okay, well, if you hit the transfer portal more early, will that equate to more wins? And then you can turn that into better high school recruiting. That was kind of my path of trying to maybe build this thing up. In a way, that kind of happened. We finally, we had the big summer of 2023 in that class, and it didn't really live up to, to the end ranking. So, but then you started winning, and that had it at the end of the 2024 season and the 2024 class where that was going to be pretty good, and it ended pretty good. We all just saw it's a top 7 class in the country right now. So it was always going to be a slippery slope of how to build it early on. But as you guys have said, this roster's in a pretty good shape right now, given all the roller coaster of how to do it through the transfer portal, through high school recruiting. We've seen the ups of high school recruiting. We've seen the downs of high school recruiting. And through the transfer portal, they've, I think, been overall pretty successful. And I think that's why you see the roster is where it is right now. And I think they've proven they can be sustainable on the high school recruiting side, and they can be pretty sustainable on the transfer portal side because what we've seen the last few years in production from both sides.
Yeah. And the biggest factor to me with this, the Rockers keeping the guys on board is them playing together, having those years of experience as a team, knowing what to expect. I mean, when you start bringing in guys who've played at other places, it's a learning curve. Like I said earlier, I don't feel it's sustainable if you really want to build a team and truly establish a culture within your program. Like Napier preaches and what you really want. I mean, you want to be defined, your team to be defined as whatever your head coach wants to, instill upon them. That's because if you're not doing that, then you're kind of not really achieving anything. So it's really important to keep those guys together for as long as you can. So in this day and age, I agree. Keeping the guys here probably is a little bit better strategy than trying to go out and bring in a bunch of new faces with the risk of losing some of your core guys.
Well, the difference between Florida and FSU. The main thing to me is that Napier, the players really, or the seemingly recruits really draw to Napier.
Yeah.
They really like Napier. And even some of the guys that ended up not coming to Florida that we lost from that summer of 23 didn't really flip they flipped because of Napier because they couldn't win any freaking games, but they really, really still liked him. Whereas FSU, Norvell, I don't know Norvell, but he doesn't draw. Seems like the recruits don't draw to him at all. Like they don't really. Nobody just goes there because they like him. So it's like as soon as they weren't winning, they didn't have any reason to go there. And because they're
also go to Tallahassee. If you go to the city of Tallahassee and just go see where the campus at. You don't want to go there.
Hey man, them dudes love the FAMU, man. That's a big draw for high school players. I can tell you.
Yeah, and not saying you guys before people will drop in because of what happened at FSU last week about being insensitive. We're not going there. This is pure.
No,
yeah. I know. I'm just saying
this
people
is football related only.
Yeah, football related only.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I know. I just
Tallahassee, where the campus and the location in Tallahassee it's always been a dump before that ever happened. Any of that stuff happened.
Hey, it's Lake City with a football team.
This was a pretty interesting comment that I had to go back and forth with Ivan Figueroa. He's a longtime listener at Gators Breakdown. He said, I have a theory on the latest situation. This is about the Lagway part of this. I think he had a minor injury, but Florida used that to find a way to make him less attractive to possible suitors out there. Having a quote-unquote injury can cast some doubt and maybe give pause to other schools going after him. I was like, Florida's not worried about that part of it. Believe me. I was like, did you see everything DJ Lagway has been doing this spring and in the offseason? So involved with UF athletics and UF health, for his the thing that he put together, in raising money for UF health and, of course, giving money NIL-wise to women's athletes at Florida. It's like he's built a UF brand. His brand is built around the University of Florida. Can he go and do some things like that other places too? Sure he can, but he's so ingrained in the community, ingrained in the University of Florida. The scenario Ivan laid out of Florida trying to just make him less attractive for others, that's not really the case here.
Hey, not saying he isn't. Denzel Aberdeen was at Ronald McDonald House Thursday night.
He was
in the portal at noon on Friday.
Yeah, I noticed that too. But they were sharing pictures. I'm like, hey, there's Aberdeen, and then not long there's hey, he's transferring.
Yeah, no, I was in a group text. They're like, oh, he's transferring. Dude's like, nah, he's at the Ronald McDonald House. He's good. Well, yeah, that didn't work. See how that went.
Yeah, Ivan replied with, let me finish this, Ryan, and then he goes, yeah, not sure they have to be worried in order to be super cautious. Still just a theory that occurred to me while driving home. I said, I get you. It's like, it is crazy in this world of college football right now, but I'm just trying to alleviate some of the worry.
Yeah, I feel as long as we don't have a disastrous season due to injury and then Napier gets fired, I think we'll have Lagway, we only got one more year after this anyway. I mean, we got 25 and 26, and he's probably going pro anyway. So I don't think Lagway is going to transfer unless, like I said, it'd have to be really bad this year for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as long as Napier's here next year, Lagway's here.
Yeah, for sure. Chach, since you jumped in a little bit later, I'm basing this episode off of what I put on Twitter last week. It was a poll. I said, I know the Lagway being limited situation makes this question a little bit weird, but after spring practice for the Gators, do you feel, and it was more encouraged or less encouraged? I didn't want to take the easy way out and put, feel the same. So out of 800 votes, 81.6 said more encouraged. So that's kind of the basis of how we got started on this conversation.
Yeah, I'm more encouraged.
No, good. This was interesting. Gator AMC Ape on Twitter said, "Not falling for the hype, then let down anymore." I said, "Well, what's the fun in that?" So, hey, but to that point, he said, "Let down anymore." I guess the fan base, we always get so excited for football season and we get hyped up, but the expectations and the hype for the team hasn't been at this level. Honestly, except for maybe Billy Napier's first year, his first season, you had Anthony Richardson at quarterback, and we were all ready to see him because of what he had shown before that under Dan Mullen, and just general hype for being a first-year coach. I think that there was a lot of hype going in that first year, playing Utah the first game of the season too. And I think maybe some last year, too. You had Graham Mertz returning. You had Miami coming into the swamp. So I think there was a lot of hype, but I think that was really much based on playing Miami in that first game and putting so much emphasis on that one game. But as far as hype for the team goes and the expectation goes, I don't see it in that vein of falling for the hype and then being let down, because I don't think we've seen the hype and the expectation for a team like this under Billy Napier so far.
That's what spring games are all about.
That's true.
Granted, we're not comparing it against much. We haven't had a lot to hype for Napier.
That's going to my point.
There were mild expectations last year.
There were.
I mean, just because Ron Roberts and second-year quarterback with Mertz, but at the same time, you see that Vegas only had just 6 wins, so it's like, well, they're usually not wrong. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, but yeah, you're right. This year, there really aren't any excuses other than Billy Napier. I mean, our roster may not be the best roster in the country, but it's at least playoff worthy. And I mean, if Lagway stays healthy and plays like we don't, then he can carry us further. We'll just kind of have to see how that goes. But at the very worst, we should be playing for a playoff. We should be in the playoffs at the end of this year. I mean, at the least.
I got an interesting question to ask on that. And Josh, maybe you can hop in, Ryan, too. And anybody else thinks, I see you hopping in here, too. Everybody brings up the schedule. And look, I'm kind of going back to what you said earlier, Ryan. This is year 4. I don't care about excuses anymore. Schedule, roster, which is the team that you've built in your image. This is what you have. And I go back to, we know schedules can be talked about a lot for this Gator team. And Ryan, I'm with you. I think the expectation should be there for Florida. And I think Florida's going to have a pretty good team, or they should have a pretty good team. And then everybody's going to throw schedule in our face. And we see it. 6.5 wins still in Vegas for a much improved, what we think, Gator team. I go back and look at it like this. How would you compare this year's 2025 Florida team to last year 2024 Georgia? Like, would you say 2025 Florida would beat 2024 Georgia? Because Georgia, in their own right, I know we don't like them. They had a very tough schedule last year. They had a pretty hard schedule, and they still found a way to go to Atlanta and win the SEC championship game. Carson Beck gets hurt. Who knows what would happen in the playoff? But I think when you look at it that way and you want to compare and you want to throw schedule in people's faces, well, if you think this team could be better than last year's Georgia team, I don't care what the schedule is. You should find yourself fighting for a SEC championship spot, but you should certainly find yourself in the top 12 and fighting for a college football playoff spot.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and I think this 25 team would beat last year's 24 Georgia team.
I do too.
Because I'm not going to say we would have won the game if Lagway stays healthy, because he wasn't. I mean, he threw the touchdown, but it wasn't, perfect. He could easily gone and thrown a pick six the very next play, but I would have felt a whole lot better with Lagway in the game, and it would have been closer. I mean, it ended up being a 2-touchdown win for Georgia. So we kept it a little close, but still, once Lagway went down, I mean, it was pretty much over for us. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to say we won that game, but I definitely would have liked our chances a whole lot more to win that game with Lagway. So yeah, I think this year with the returning production and Lagway even more experienced, yeah, I think we would definitely would have beat that team. And I like us against Georgia this year. I mean,
Yeah.
We don't have to get too far ahead of ourselves with the schedule. Yeah, the schedule's tough. It's always tough in the SEC, but I mean, it is what it is. Take care of business.
I don't know. Georgia plays up to competition so much. You know, they're such a big game team.
They are, but they went to Oxford last year and got smashed.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, I love Lane Kiffin, so I'm giving that to Lane.
But I mean, to your point, beat Texas twice.
Main thing is that Georgia is also very good at attacking weaknesses on teams, on offense and defense. 2025 Florida, to me, the secondary is going to be the weakness. At least, so what I can tell so far. I don't know how I don't know if they could just pick us apart on the DBs. Now, it's hard to tell. I don't know anything about Georgia for this year.
Is their quarterback still Gunnar Stockton or whatever his name was?
It is. Yeah, in a remade receiver room.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think. I mean, I've been overconfident going into Georgia before, but I like our chances against him, even if our secondary's not up to where it needs to be. You know, we get pressure on him. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna be that good. It's just my first thoughts on just from what we saw from last year. I mean, he played all right, but I don't think he's the best quarterback Georgia's ever had.
Oh, for sure. Retooled offensive line as well for Georgia. There are a ton of injuries at that spot last year. But
yeah, I mean, this is the year.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
Getting beat by Georgia. I mean, that's
another thing.
We won one rival game. Well, if you count Tennessee, we've beaten our rivals twice in 3 years. I mean, we can't be doing that. We can't be.
It was my New Year's resolution. You got to find a way to beat Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, if however many rivals you want to say we have, Tennessee, LSU. I mean, I'm only counting Tennessee, FSU, and Georgia as our main ones. But LSU, you could play them.
You can throw those.
I mean, yeah. So we beat them once. A lot of the we beat Tennessee once, and we beat FSU once. So we're like 3-12 in rivalry games.
Not been particularly close either. The losses.
Yeah. So I mean, we're 3-12 in rivalry games. I mean, we got to turn this around. Whatever the record is, that may not be right.
And kind of going to your point, and you brought it up a couple of times. I mean, I think it's fair to say, and a lot of people are going to agree, and this may be pretty obvious, but I think it should just be said since we're talking about it. I mean, this is the best roster Billy Napier's had.
Yeah, it's now or never. I don't think it's going to be better next year. I think this is the year. I think all this returning starters and all these, like the All-American offensive linemen, DJ Lagway, he'll be back. But everybody else and the guys from the defense, they're going to be gone next year. So,
I mean, I think the offense in 26, if we bring everybody back, will be as good as this year, just because of you get all the running backs back 26, you get all the receivers going to be back 26,
and year 3
But you're replacing like 4 starting linemen, aren't you? That's
you're replacing Slaughter, Barber, and Damian George.
Yeah,
but
Najee Harris
I think is good. Fletcher Westfall is going to be good, I think. You got
Caden Jones, right tackle, who's going to be starting this year.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think the defense, I think, will take a step back in 26. I mean, we ain't even 25. I'm talking about 6. But, yeah, you know.
Well, but bringing it up, because that's why we're saying this year might be the year to strike.
This year more than 27. Don't think you've got something in 26. Make it this year. Make this year be the year. That way, then you've got more buzz around the program. There's not a sense of, these guys still ain't figured it out. So you can bring more talent in to help recover from who you lose in 26. But that's why 25 needs to be the year.
I got to push the expectations down the road a little bit because I can't be sick all off season.
Sounds like Billy Napier. Let's just kick the can on down the road. We'll get them next year.
Hey, man, I got to be able to sleep at night when we don't fire the coach if we don't win something this year.
This has got to be the year.
Yeah.
And since we're coming out of spring, and most people are feeling good. I think there's still a spot, and we'll talk about, transfer portal. And first of all, Florida has room on the roster. We know Gregory Smith off the roster now, hit the transfer portal. Aiden Warner on the roster, on the scholarships now. So I think Florida's still at
That
now.
is crazy.
Yeah, now the 85. So, if they're going to hit transfer portal, and we know they're going to bring guys in, we've seen they're going to host transfer portal guys. So obviously there's still some roster maneuvering that has to happen, but it feels good going in this. Like we're sitting here at the spring transfer portal. Wow, we would like to have another nose tackle. We'd like to have maybe a safety / cornerback, / secondary guy. At least we're in this spring portal window where we're sitting here saying, man, we got to have that. Or what are we going to do here if we don't get somebody? If you look at nose tackle, I think Florida can be mostly fine if Jamari Lyons stays healthy. DeAndre Robinson, progresses nice. You have some options there. But I do think it hinges a lot on Jamari Lyons coming back and being that guy that we think he can be, and the guy he was supposed to be that we were hearing about last fall camp, and some of those younger guys coming. DeAndre Robinson and
Poirier.
Mekhi Burrow. Yeah, I mean it's. You have the names there, and if those guys do what we, if they can be serviceable, okay, it probably saves you from hitting the transfer portal. Now, maybe you could go get an impact guy there. If there's going to be this impact nose tackle that's in there, then fine. If there's an impact guy in the secondary, fine, go get him. But they don't reach a whole lot in the transfer portal. I don't think that's going to be the case here too. So I think you're not in the spring portal window having to go find somebody. Like last year, coming out of spring practice, I wanted Florida to go get a wide receiver. I thought Florida needed to go get a wide receiver, and they went and got Elijah Badger, and we saw how that turned out.
We definitely needed him.
Yeah, I'm not as convinced coming out of this spring that we absolutely have to go get a nose tackle. We absolutely have to go get a secondary player, maybe another tight end. I'd like it, and I think it can make Florida better, but I'm also sitting here at the same situation. I don't know if it makes Florida a big difference in Florida going to go and get a college football playoff spot or go to Atlanta in the SEC championship game.
Well, that is like, I haven't seen anybody that is insanely impressive in the portal.
Right. At this moment.
Unless he's a bona fide starter that is going to take the place one of your guys now, then yeah.
And I'm wrong. David Stone is impressive, but we can't get him anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't even count him. But, besides him, I mean, because I don't think Nico Alamalava is that impressive. We don't need him, obviously, but the guy from Liberty, the defensive end, looks interesting.
He did end up committing to Auburn today.
Auburn, yeah.
Did he?
Yep.
Like some kind of
went from Auburn to Liberty back to Auburn.
I was gonna say it's like a development program. What the hell? But yeah, I mean nothing. I don't know. Even him, it was like it'd be cool to have, but I mean we don't necessarily need him. He wouldn't. We've got guys.
I mean, we're also not worrying about is one of our players or one of our key players going to hit the portal. I mean, we think we're safe that way too. So yeah, it's a little bit of a relief this spring that we're not in panic mode for anything.
I would like a corner, but
yeah. Like I said, I would like one, but and we also heard the reports that Florida may be targeting Miami safety Zaquan Patterson. Losing Gregory Smith, can you just replace with Patterson if you feel like you need to go that route? Only one season with Miami, of course. He was a true freshman last year. Played in all 13 games. So getting somebody who's played a lot of football. We know Miami had some issues on that side of the ball in the secondary, giving up big play after big play. So he told Kane Sport it's just not the right place at the right time. So we'll see. We know it sounds like Florida has some interest there.
And I mean, these days you can just pay them enough that it covers the scholarship or covers all the room and board and tuition. I mean, and also that's something I don't think we overspend. We're not. I mean, I think now that we've finally gotten our ducks in a row, we're pretty much we've got a budget of what we're going to pay for player. A top quarterback is going to make this much. This many. It's probably structured a lot like the NFL is. Your running back is probably unfortunately one of the lower paid positions, but just it is what it is. So there's a need: quarterbacks, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, receivers.
As far as I know, even the walk-ons get decent money from like Florida Victorious.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can pay these walk-ons enough to let them pay their school and room and board, and they don't have to be on scholarship.
And then
did they ever put more money on scholarship?
Yes. He's on scholarship now. But also, Miami defensive lineman Joshua Horton, as of last week, was supposed to or likely to visit Florida. Keith Niebuhr from On3 was saying, so we'll see what comes of that as well. As we're talking about defensive line, nose tackle, and we talked secondary as well. So you might find yourself with some, Miami players, former Miami players on the roster. But as I'm saying here, is we're just sitting here. It just doesn't look like a dire need as far as what's out there. Some instant impact starter types. I think there's guys who can compete for a starting job, but there's not a for sure impact guy who's coming in right away and taking a job. I think he's gonna have to work for it with what Florida already has on the roster, and that's a great place to be.
Yeah, and like I said, if there's not one of those type guys out there, then he probably ain't worth the money he's asking for.
Gator Ace said on X in reply to the question, those sophomores and true freshmen look very good. And now I also think we know our backup quarterback is. So, yeah, I did like what Harrison Bailey showed last week. I'm assuming, he showed enough to certainly be in the conversation for the backup role. And then, as you guys heard on the recap last week, it seemed like just true freshmen making plays. Second-year guys as well. Jaden Ball at running back. We've seen it. So I think there's a lot to like about the linebacker spots too, and the second-year players there. But you certainly, and that's what a spring game is for. And we know some guys were held out due to injury. So we're going to get a lot of young names anyway. We should have known that beforehand going into the spring game, but still nice to see young guys making an impact, even if it is in that type of setting. But certainly gives you a promise for what Florida has if they have to go down the depth chart a bit. And as I've said, if you find young guys making plays, if you find young guys, you can't see injuries, but for the most part, if this team stays mostly healthy and you're seeing young guys out there making plays, they had to go beat some, pretty good players to go get that playing time or earn more playing time in their own right, so other guys can stay fresh. But I think if you see, don't be surprised if you see a lot of freshmen, sophomores out there making plays for the Gators in 25.
Yeah, there's this young kid out there, Dallas Wilson. I don't know if you heard about him, but you better watch out. He's going to be pretty good.
Did he do anything last week? I don't remember.
I don't know. He's kind of an under the radar type kid. Just look out for him.
On that same note,
his potential is through the roof.
Oh man!
But like it is a spring game, so
yeah,
you take it with a grain of salt. But still, you like to see.
That joker balled so hard, people forgot about Vernell Brown III.
It did, and Vernell looked good in his own right Saturday as well. So,
yeah, it's good. It's good to see those kids, show the potential.
Yeah. Some more replies here and get you guys' thoughts on here. Hell Florida Hell, their site, they chimed in and said, can I say both? Harrison makes me feel better. Obviously, Dallas Wilson makes me feel better for a wide receiver room that still has questions. J. Michael Sturdivant, 1 catch on 7 targets. Linebacker looks good. Defensive tackle depth's a worry. On that, J. Michael Sturdivant, not to throw shade, I did think he looked better, but the stats didn't necessarily show it either. But he was playing with Aiden Warner, so, if J. Michael Sturdivant was on Harrison Bailey's team, and then maybe his stats look a little bit better too. William Norris chimes in and says, much more encouraged. The backups look competent. The offensive line looked a lot better. And I know Napier wasn't calling plays, but the Russ O'Hara combo actually sprinkled in some quick game. This is clearly a roster that should compete for the SEC and make the playoffs easily. And Deshaun says there's a lot of optimism in Gainesville. Winning cures everything. We ended the season on a win streak, flipped a 5-star that showed out in the spring game, and basketball won a natty. and they say lags is fine, so just waiting for it all. So there we go.
I'm also so glad we get cupcake games to start the season
For the first time in
yes.
Napier's tenure. First time. Utah.
Yeah, get to
Utah.
do a warm up.
Yeah, Utah. Miami. I mean, it is I will say, we can admit it. Yeah, he hasn't had the easy road, and it certainly made it harder to begin with. Now we're at the point now where it shouldn't matter, but still, it is odd that with his best team, he's going to open up with the easiest opponent he's ever had.
I can't wait for the discourse afterwards when we only win 24-10.
Oh my God, you know it, dude.
No, yeah, I'm glad we got some cupcakes too. We need it. I mean, isn't LSU third game?
Yep.
In Baton Rouge, yeah.
What is it? Is Long Island?
Yep.
In Kentucky?
No, USF.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then
Fighting Goalish.
Yeah. Then 2 Baton Rouge, and then 2 Miami.
Yeah.
We're fighting Greg Smith.
There's a lot of hype for LSU, and they'll be good.
Yeah.
But they're going to be better at home. That's going to be a tough game. I mean,
it is. It is going to be very tough.
But here, might as well put on slow mode for after LSU if we lose to LSU. Permanent slow mode in the Discord.
Yeah, because it's going to be early.
What's worse is going to Miami. I mean, losing back to back. Oh my goodness, this thing. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, no matter what happens versus LSU, you've got to bounce back, or you got to win in Miami. It doesn't matter what happened in LSU. You have to win at Miami, no matter what happens the week before. And that's the thing, now I talked about the schedule earlier, and we all know it's tougher. And look, there is some pad built in with a schedule this tough. Florida can afford 2 losses. We know it. So that's another thing, not to get so bent out of shape for an early loss. And look, we're all going to be disappointed because we know then the margin for error gets slimmer, and we know how tough Florida's schedule is. So when you do suffer an early loss, then you start looking, hey, well, look, if we can't beat LSU, can we really beat Georgia? Can we really beat Texas? Can we really beat Tennessee? Blah, blah, blah. Maybe I shouldn't throw in Tennessee now after the Nico situation, but you get my drift.
Yeah, but I don't think you can afford 3 losses. That's the thing.
No, I don't think you can either. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 losses. I think you're on one of those conversations where this team probably ain't getting in. I mean,
it is a conversation.
What's the 3 losses?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, because Alabama was in, 3 losses. They were in the conversation to the very end. Ole Miss to the very end. So, you'll find yourself in the conversation. But man, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that have to go your way.
Another team that has won their conference or championship, like an SMU or whoever it worked out last year. Whoever they put in Alabama didn't get in. They're going to reward that little team probably. Just I don't know. I don't feel safe with 3 losses.
You got to go either.
I don't either. But.
If your 3 losses are at LSU, at Miami and Georgia, that's they're not gonna count that the same as if we lose to Kentucky at home.
Right. That's what I think. That's what hurt Ole Miss last year. I mean, losing to Kentucky.
Losing to Florida.
And losing to Florida in some ways. But they were getting a lot more respect for the Florida loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they done kind of forgot about them losing to Kentucky. Everybody done forgot about it. And they're on high horse after beating Georgia, and then they lose. Because what did they lose? To LSU and Florida back-to-back or something?
But you say they forgot, but then at the end of the year, then you start looking at resumes. And then that's when it comes back. Oh, well, this team did lose to Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't going to be an easy game either. Going to Oxford, Lane looking for some payback.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ole Miss is going to suck.
I don't think it's going to be as good either. But still, it is a losable game.
Hey, Lane's about to have his 2021 Mullen year.
Well, when them sucking, I think they go 8-4. I think they'll be good enough, and I don't know what their schedule is, but
same as last year SEC wise. So they play us in Georgia.
If Lane is into it, if Lane is into it, doesn't bail on it like Mullen did, they should be able to scheme enough to win 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. He's still going to be. I'm sure he still is going to be wanting. I don't know. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's happy in Oxford. I just still feel like he's looking for that one that one big job that he can land. I don't know. We'll see.
I think so.
We kept Napier. Lane's not. It ain't going to be Lane here. So.
Yeah, he missed his shot. I mean, this was his shot to be the Florida coach. I don't think he gets another shot. We kept Napier, and he missed his shot. I think that was his one big time to be Florida's coach. I don't think even if we ever do move on from Napier, it won't be Kiffin now.
I can see that.
Yeah, well.
No, hey, Golden won a championship off analytics from being like a no-name coach. They're going to hire like some kind of like.
Oh, don't even say it. Don't even talk. Don't even put that out there. We've done the no names. We've seen it not work. So I mean, Napier was kind of a no name. We don't need to do that. But at the same time, I mean,
we're not talking about this for
big name guys out there.
Yeah, few more years.
Hey, yeah. I only know how we got on this. Yeah, we started talking about Lane.
Way to go, Chotch.
Yeah, I know. I heard something you said. Napier was not a no-name coach.
Well, for Power 5 big schools, I mean, he came from Louisiana. I mean, he wasn't like this.
I kind of get what you're saying. Yeah, right. It was Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, that same cycle.
Yeah. I agree there, but Auburn wanted him, Carolina wanted him,
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech wanted him. I bet he wished he took that Virginia Tech job now. I don't know. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, they ain't what
we think. We think our admin gave up on football. My God, they gave up on sports.
It seems like it.
They suck at everything.
I mean, but hey, here we go. In the end, I mean, we bring up those two big names, and in the end, I mean, Florida feels better about their situation right now than I think a lot of LSU fans feel about their situation, and USC fans feel about Lincoln Riley's situation. At minimum, I think you may be Florida LSU equal, but
yeah, because LSU's still recruiting.
Yeah,
Brian Kelly's still bringing in top 5 classes. So that's gonna.
But they're ticked off at last year though. Like they were not very happy. Now they got really aggressive in the transfer portal. They got really aggressive in the transfer portal. So
my hot take for LSU is that Florida beats LSU in Baton Rouge, and Brian Kelly gets fired at some point.
Let's look at their schedule, because what happens? Let's see who do they have after Florida?
8-4 or 7-5 get Brian Kelly get him fired. I mean, that's
it depends on the 8-4.
Yeah,
I mean, if they beat Bama and Florida and whoever else, he might make it another year. But I don't know.
Here's the thing: they play Clemson game 1, and we've seen Brian Kelly.
Where do they play?
They play. Where do they play? They play at Clemson.
Yeah, they're losing that game.
And that guy cannot win an opener to save his life.
Yeah, who's Clemson's quarterback?
Klubnik.
Yeah, Klubnik comes back. Well, they bring a lot back. I mean, they're a really experienced team. Yeah.
I mean, Clemson should easily win the ACC, so that's going to be tough for LSU. That one will be tough.
So here's LSU's thing. They have every other game to start. Well, here it is. Okay, at Clemson, then Louisiana Tech, then Florida, then Southeastern Louisiana, and then Ole Miss. So every other week to start the season is a tough game. And then following Ole Miss, they have South Carolina before they play Vanderbilt. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their first 6 games, we're going to know what LSU is. Clemson, Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina.
I'm not convinced South Carolina's going to live up to where they played last year. We'll see. I'm not.
I can see that.
It was just kind of, yeah.
But I'm a hater. But I don't think Lenore Sellers is all that.
That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, if he is what they think he can be, then South Carolina is going to be good because the quarterback can carry you far. But they did lose a lot on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see. They lost some weapons at receiver as well.
That coach is just goofy, man. I can't do down here. I don't think he's gonna follow that up.
Beamer is a little weird.
And I don't believe Sellers is good. I mean, he's a runner, but I don't think he's that good of a thrower.
He's like another Anthony Richardson to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all world athlete. Just I don't know.
But can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
But he took over that Clemson game last year, though. Whew.
Yeah, because he's Anthony Richardson. He has these moments where he looks like freaking Cam Newton. And then he has another moment where he looks like I don't know what. But
was it South Florida? Who was it? We gave Anthony Richardson the Heisman. South Florida when he pulled his hammy and but still balled out like it was.
Yeah, because the game before is when he jumped over the dude from Florida Atlantic.
Yeah.
Richardson, he'll kill some bad teams now. But for every USF game where he looked like Cam Newton, you had the Kentucky game where he kept weird foot movements or whatever. I can't remember now. Couldn't set his feet right to throw passes or something. I'm trying to remember now. It's been so long. But you can tell I'm getting old, man. I used to remember every single thing that happened in every single football game for like years.
Yeah.
Now I don't even know.
Well, that's how I am right now with South Carolina. I forget they still bring Nick Harbor back, so he'll be a sophomore this coming up years, and that's kind of the guy that they're relying on. They just don't. My thing with receiver is they just don't. There's just nobody that stands out. So.
I mean, without Nico at Tennessee, it kind of opens up I say the East, the former East, or however they do this, the SEC now. But it opens up the league a little bit for Florida to you can just beat Georgia. I mean, there's a path.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the SEC altogether, there's no just completely standout team. Texas is the best, but I mean, even they have stuff that I don't know about.
Yeah, Texas is going to be good. I mean, they're definitely the number one. Georgia's probably it's taking that. It's dethroning Georgia. That's going to be the key. What team can dethrone Georgia to get that championship game against Texas?
Yep, and then bounce back for Bama if it's there, and LSU and Florida. I mean, to me, that's your handful. So with Tennessee and given when I did the whole returning production thing and was starting to look at Tennessee in that light, I didn't like with what Nico showed last year and then what they had returning this year. I did not like Tennessee as much this year. So I think you guys are right. I think it's Texas, Georgia, Bama, LSU, Florida. And, if you want to buy into South Carolina because of low North Sellers, I think they're right there too. But I think you're going to see Florida with a lot more hype than South Carolina. When all these preseason magazines come out, a lot of the rankings that are already out there. I think, Florida's in that top 5 conversation. If you want to tear it out, I honestly would. I mean, maybe there's some orange and blue glasses here. I'd say Texas, Georgia by themselves, and then in the next group, I'd say Alabama, LSU, Florida.
Yeah, I agree.
Alabama is such a boomer bust team.
You're right. That's the thing. They might be in a tier. They might be in a tier by themselves. It might be to start the season, and because of their potential, it might be Texas, Georgia, Bama by themselves, and then LSU, Florida.
Who is Bama starting at quarterback?
Oh, man.
Simpson?
Ty Simpson?
Yeah, beats me. Ty Simpson? Okay.
I'd have just started Keelan Russell and been done with it.
I know. That's the question I think they may be asking themselves midway through the season. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's a...
They're gonna have like a Florida moment. They lose a game or so beginning of the year and say to hell with it. Put Keelan Russell in.
What? They play
growing pains.
They play FSU week 1 in the new Doak.
B2A.
Yeah, here's my thing. Ty Simpson's going to go out there and throw for 350 yards, and it's still not going to really be a good indication of what he is.
Yeah, it's like a cupcake game. It's like us playing Long Island.
FSU beats Bama. They're going to crucify Kalen DeVore.
They will be.
Yeah,
because
if they beat Bama, FSU fans are going to be so dumbfounded. Like, I don't know what to say.
I mean,
yeah, because they'll still go on to lose
3 games again this year, and he's still just they're gonna run him out of town eventually, unless he wins a national championship. He's always going to be compared to the guy that follows the legend. Rarely ever in sports lives up to it. They're normally fired pretty quickly.
I mean, but Bama returns so much this year, though. Besides quarterback,
yeah, they should be loaded. They should be good. I mean, but it's like but quarterback, and it's unknown. And just look at what it's done to Tennessee. Tennessee was probably the third or fourth best team in the SEC.
And they definitely don't have running backs. Yeah, and they definitely don't have running backs like they used to. Bama doesn't have running backs like they used to. I mean, since Najee Harris.
Go ahead.
Yeah, since Najee Harris, they don't get me wrong, he was great. He's one of the best. But even before him, they had those guys you could really count on. I don't see that in that group that they have now. I mean, they're talented, but Jam Miller doesn't. I mean, he doesn't jump off the page at me.
No, but they throw a lot more now than they used to.
That is true. That is true.
But I mean, that's kind of what I was fixing to say was we don't know. We still don't know whether DeBoer's scheme for offense or defense fits in the SEC.
Yeah, they got Ryan Grubb back for OC, so we'll see if that's.
Didn't they change DCs, or are they still? I don't really keep up with Bama. I mean, I live in Bama. My friends, my buddy's a Bama fan, but I couldn't tell you anything about who their defensive coordinator is. Or
Kane Womack.
Last year was Kane Womack.
Yeah, I think he's still. That's right. I think he's still the guy.
Okay. Wasn't there some kind of rumor that Florida was trying to hire him?
I don't. I mean, I know we talk in some of the same circles, yeah. So
I don't remember. It all kind of. I hear so many rumors. I don't know what was a rumor that I heard from somebody else who said it. If it was a real rumor, if it's some whatever. At this point, after a while, it's just like that's what it's like. You'll hear like these random coaching names will come up over the years. You're like, God, I remember that name.
Yeah. Where is Bama returning production? Maybe I don't have to. Because I remember in the SEC, it's Texas A&M 6th overall, Vanderbilt 8th overall.
A&M's a very curious team.
They really are. I mean, and they're on the schedule too, of course. Florida's 18th overall, Auburn 22nd, Bama 35th. I
feel like
overall.
A&M is going to be solid on defense, but they're probably going to struggle a little bit on offense. I'm not sold on their quarterback, and usually defensive-minded coaches, until you're willing to, I don't know, it kind of works out that way. You're always just a little bit weaker on the other side.
Oklahoma.
You lean heavy on.
Yeah, Oklahoma's gonna be really interesting. They've attacked the portal like crazy. They're changing. I mean, I'll give.
They're a desperation mode.
I'll give them credit because they didn't stand by. They just didn't say "woe is me" and all. I mean, they are trying. I ain't saying it's going to work, but they are certainly kind of reshaping themselves in Brent Venables. In this kind of really critical year for him.
That will be where Lane Kiffin would probably end up.
Ooh.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. That's a good call right there. If he takes another job, Oklahoma could be a big time job because they're a big time program.
I did hear from somebody at some point, and I don't remember from what. It might have been on freaking Sports Center for all I know. But I heard somewhere that Kiffin's like big three jobs that he would leave, only jobs he'd really leave Ole Miss for outside of like the NFL job. They said was Florida, Oklahoma, and Ohio State.
Well, he's definitely not getting Ohio State. That one you can cross that one off once they goes to the NFL. I don't think he's an NFL top coach, but anyway.
Future Gator coach Ryan Day.
But Oklahoma fans should want Venables to work out just because he has history with the team, he's alumni and all that. But they're still not going to give him that long of a leash.
Yeah, but he's like their Ron Zook. They fired him.
Yeah, that's true. But he played for Oklahoma. So I know he's got.
I thought he played for Kansas State.
Did he? I thought he played for. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
I thought he was another one of those Bill Snyder guys.
Yeah, I think
he is. Okay. My bad. I thought he went there, and that was that's why
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Job.
Yeah, could be wrong. Man, this is the me and Ryan and Dave show tonight.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm looking it up now. See where
I might have just made it all up. I don't know.
I think he was a Kansas State guy.
Wow, Venables is really young. Yeah, he's a Kansas State graduate.
Okay. I don't know.
He was linebacker for Kansas State.
I know he coached there.
Yeah, they went.
He coached there before.
Oklahoma went crazy. Crazy Washington State this transfer portal.
Well, yeah, they brought their whole offense
and
quarterback,
and John Mateer at quarterback. Yeah,
you're gonna be new Cam Ward.
Oklahoma takes it serious. So they don't turn it around. They're not going to just sit by and let Texas run the SEC. They'll get some guys in there to spend some money and do what it takes.
I mean, Mateer last year, 3,136 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So he ran for 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns too.
Washington State's schedule last year was not normal Washington State schedule.
Yeah, you're right there.
I mean, I don't remember who they played, but I mean, the Pac-12 fell apart. So, I mean,
why don't them and Oregon State just play like 12 times a year? You know, just them and Oregon State every week.
But they have to play at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, there you go. No, they got to play Washington. They need to keep that as long as they can as well.
7-game series.
Yeah.
I love those Pac-12 games at night. Man,
I do too. Yeah, I didn't mind it last year. I'm glad ESPN was smart enough to move some Big 12 games in that time slot.
Yeah.
You know, they were. I'm glad they did. I'm glad they didn't let the 10:30 kickoff go away because the Pac-12 went away. I'm glad.
So here's Washington State's wins last year.
Okay.
I'll kind of summarize it. They beat Portland State by 50 points. They beat Texas Tech. They beat Washington, San Jose State, lost to Boise State, beat Fresno State, Hawaii, San Diego State, Utah State, but then lost at the end of the year to New Mexico, Oregon State, Wyoming, and Syracuse.
Ooh. No shame in losing to Syracuse. And the crazy thing is there's some good wins in there.
The state game, by the way, was in double overtime.
Yep.
That they won. But they beat Texas Tech handedly.
Yeah.
Like 37-16 is the score. But then they lost. Let's see their losses. They got killed by Boise State, but that's no shame. They lost by a combined 6 points to New Mexico, Oregon State, and Wyoming. So that was their other 4 regular season losses. So, I mean, they didn't get killed by anybody besides Boise State and Syracuse at the end.
Was Syracuse a bowl game or was it a regular?
Yeah, that was the bowl game.
Okay.
That was the Holiday Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, because Syracuse beat Miami in the regular season finale last year, right?
Yeah, and I'm not certain. I don't know. I don't have the game stats in front of me. I don't know if Mateer even played in the bowl game and if who was playing in the bowl game and not. I mean, it's
I wouldn't even count that against them anyway. But all right, well, good stuff, guys. Thanks for hopping in.
Yeah, thanks for having it. Even though it was just kind of a 3.
No, it was good though. It was good.
Everybody else was lost.
Yeah. We'll put it out for everybody, and they can listen to it. Mateer did not play versus Syracuse.
Yeah, neither, and the head coach was not there for the bowl game either. Yeah. He'd already left with Wake Forest. So they had their defensive line coach coaching the bowl game.
There we go.
Who is now the D-line coach at Wake Forest.
College football.
Yeah. We love it. We love it anyway.
It's a crazy sport.
And their defensive coordinator didn't coach the bowl game either. So they were skeleton crew for that bowl game.
Jeez. All right, guys. Thanks for hopping in. Another good chat right here on Gators Breakdown Plus. Like I said, I'll put this episode out there for everybody to enjoy. I'm going to try and do a little bit of recruiting this week. Get caught up in recruiting. So been a little while. So that'd be the topic this week. But thanks for hopping in on this Gators Breakdown chat.
Thanks, Dave. Go Gators.
Go Gators.